So I want to quickly cover how the Trinity is literally in the first few sentences of the book of Genesis. As God is presenting the creation of the earth, he's presenting the different parts of himself. And there's a oneness in the Trinity, and how these interact in from his perspective, I don't think matters to us. I don't think it's important for us to know. As a matter of fact, there might be something kind of sacrilege about trying to understand what this would mean to God, that there's these different parts of him. And maybe that's why we get into the muck about it. Like we go, oh, well, I don't understand why this is necessary, because it's a people concept problem, right? I've never heard a perspective that's addressing why God would think it matters. Like, God has a logic to him. He's logical, he's precise, he's calculated. Why does it matter that we know? Because he could be the Trinity, he could be different parts, he could be 12 different parts and still be one God. And maybe there are parts of him he has not revealed to us, I don't know. And still be one God. We don't have many gods, we have one that operates in different ways and interacts with each other differently, which I'm not going to go into because there's all kinds of heresy that can come from that. What I'm saying is, why does he think we need to know? And so all the conversations are about why this group of people over here doesn't understand the Trinity, and why it's hard to understand, and why it's hard to explain, and why it might not be true. Why do we need to know about it? I'm going to tell you, because there's something that's 100% applicable in the fact that he spoke of these things in a way that shows you this matters to you for these reasons, because these are different parts of himself that we can't entirely fathom, understand, or interact with, or will not allow us to be next to him. He would not be able to walk with Abraham unless these parts were present, working and operating in a way that makes God approachable. So there's a part of God, as you see at the front here, at the very top of this statement, at the book of Genesis, God created. This is the supernova part of God. This is the part of God that we all know what he is. He's powerful. He's a mighty energy force field. And if we were to go into this person, part of himself's presence, we would be destroyed. We know because prophets have entered this place, and they said that his robe fills the whole throne, meaning that his existence, his presence, it fills every space. And not only does it fill the space in like a linear way, it fills the space in a very 3D way, because, well, multi-dimensional way, I should say. I say 3D because I don't, there are many dimensions, but whatever. Because the angels are around him, and they're covering their face and their feet. They're saying that he's holy, even not just the ground itself, because he would say, like, the burning bush would say, the ground you're walking on is holy. Every space that surrounds him is holy. And it caused a prophet to lament and say, I am a man of unclean people, with unclean lips. And there was a coal that was brought to him from an angel that seared his lips. What did Jesus say when he died on the cross? I thirst, and he had vinegar, sear his lips. This is all symbolic, right? This is all prophesying or foreshadowing Jesus. So he's living out a literal prophecy of Jesus and how we can approach God, because this angel had to come and sear his lips. Jesus had to come and literally be scarred, damaged. When you say I thirst, they're going to come with more pain for you. They're not going to give you water. They're going to hurt you. Why? Because you're a representative of God. He's representing us. He's representing our sin, and he's cleansing us through his actions and teaching us how to walk so that we could be closer to God. So if this power is so great that we do need an in-between person, an in-between being, according to Genesis, this person that gives us the way, that lights the path before us, the light, the lantern that lights our way to God, that's what he's operating as. He's operating as the one that covers us and protects us from the big supernova that is God. And the fact that we cannot be in his presence and survive, we just can't, we just disintegrate. Well, they need an in-between. That's who Jesus is. And he happens to be, according to John, the light of the world. He's the second person here. being part of God, not separate. They're separate, but they're one God. Okay, I'm not going to get into that, but he's one God who happens to operate as the light, as the supernova. And so these are different parts. The part of God that's mighty, the part of God that needs to protect you from himself and be able to walk with you because he's a being that was walking with Abraham. So he appears as a person, right? And then you have the spirit that hovered over the waters. It wasn't enough that God walks next to us. The law can't exist in a parallel place next to us like a seat. God said, according to Jeremiah 31, the law has to be written upon your heart or we will never change. That we have to be circumcised within the heart. And those who are only circumcised in the flesh will not be accepted by God. You have to be circumcised by the heart. Your heart has to have the law written upon it. That is the last covenant of the Old Testament. And it happens to be what Jesus fulfills. Judaism does not offer this. It offers a lot of rules, a lot of traditions, a lot of things that look good on the external, on the outside. A lot of the traditions that happen to also point to Jesus. And, unless you have the Holy Spirit, you wouldn't be able to see it. And then it's people who cross over from Judaism into Christianity that I think are the strongest because they have these traditions just built right in. The Holy Spirit sits very comfortably in that. And it understands. We're talking about Jesus when we do these things. But when a Christian who was not Jewish does these things, they become boastful, prideful. The spirit changes into something else. So it's not always healthy for Christians who were not raised Jewish to pick up Jewish traditions that happen to really, truly point to Jesus. But that's not the point. What I'm saying is you can see why these different parts of God are existing. He's doing it just like that Michelangelo painting of God reaching out to Adam and Adam barely reaching out. God is literally extending himself, saying there's the supernova part. There's the part that has to shield you from the supernova part. That has to be God too. Because in order to be in the presence of God, you kind of got to be God, right? So he's taken a piece of himself to put before us to shield us so that we can approach God. And he's also given us the spirit within so that not only can we walk with God and be sanctified in life through our training, but we can enter in fully walking upright before God again in the presence, just like Adam and Eve, but more wiser than Adam and Eve, because now part of God, that third part, rests comfortably within us and we don't fight it anymore, right? So you first get the Holy Spirit, you fight a lot of stuff. You feel at some point like your flesh is just being torn apart. Because it is. You're being circumcised in the heart. These are all parts of God that existed from the beginning and that needed to exist in order for us to be, in order for us to have a chance at getting to know him again. He had that plan and Jesus ready to go from the moment he created this place. He understood what needed to happen because he's God. And you can see that with the way he even told Moses with writing the book of Genesis. These parts of self existed so that creation could start, so that there could be a fullness and a completion therein. So just even before they, plural, said, let us make man in our image. That's what God said. Let us make man in our image. He already had the solution. He said, so there's a supernova energy. These beings are too small for that. They can't even approach. Okay, well, there's a side of God that will allow them to approach, be self-sacrificing. That will teach him how to be self-sacrificing. And then there's the other side that hovers over the water. That, that's the Ruach. It's breathing within us. It's a purification process. And that's why when Jesus went into the water in the River Jordan, he came out of the water and there was a spirit hovering over the water. Just like in the book of Genesis, the beginning of the spirit living in us was Jesus being baptized, rising up, the spirit, the dove hovering over the water, and God saying, listen to him. That's what it all boils down to. It's all circular because God is perfect. And these three beings, however they relate to each other, however people want to debate it, this is one God reaching out. These like different sections of his index finger. The three different parts of your index finger. It's still you. It's still a piece of you. But it's him reaching out block by block, joint by joint to try to reach us, try to get us to walk in the fullness of being able to not only to maintain our presence with him, or, our self in front of him, because we'd be destroyed otherwise, but also so that there's an integrity aspect that I really love, because good parents build up their kids. They don't just destroy them for the sake of it. And there's this compassionate aspect of that I am really moved by, so that he can help us remember ourselves and help us bring us back to what he created us to be, which we've completely forgotten. We've forgotten. And you can see this in children. Children have like that pureness of them, and over time they forget. And they have to be remembered by the Holy Spirit. That's why it's like the most blessed thing you can do is raise up little saints to know Jesus Christ as Lord, because you find the people that move from one religion into Christianity, they'll start raising saints, and then the generations of serving Christ begin. That walk of Christ starts. And it's the breaker of all the chains, of all the generational curses. And that's because God understood what we needed. He understood what he was creating. He understood how to extend to us and how to protect us and how to build us up and how to help us forgive ourselves because of what he did on the cross, and to take that and flip it upside down. And he destroyed death before he even created this place, and he knew we'd fall before he created this place, and he had a solution before he even created this place, as he was creating it. It's quite amazing, and it proves he really is God. That's why I believe this verse right here, just the first few sentences of Genesis, reveals a very big part of him that shows his all-knowing and his knowledge and his love and compassion and empathy. May God be with you.